So hi everybody and welcome in this Reloop webinar. So today we have a really interesting topic, which actually like most of the country are talking about, the DRS in Germany for reuse and for recycling. And we have the opportunity today to have Elena Schägg from Deutsche Umwelthilfe, which is a pretty big NGOs in Germany and well known about this the circular economy topics, the packaging topics, and actually I will let for sure let her present herself. And today, our idea is to really understand and deep dive in this German story about DRS for recycling and DRS for reuse. So my name is Alexis Eisenberg. I'm the director for France and Francophonie for Reloop. And before starting and deep dive in this conversation with you about the German deposit return system, I would like to present in a few slides what is Reloop and what we are going to what we do and what's our work here also in France. So Reloop is international NGOs. As you can see, like most of my colleagues are not here around me in France, but they are in different countries. So we try to cover DRS around the world, mostly the DRS that you can have at national level. Our different research are on 5 programs area. We got the money back programs, and the topic is DRS for recycling, the collect more, sort more about the extended producer responsibility, the EPR, the closing the loop programs about the recycled content and recycled content mandate, reuse revolution with the DRS for reuse, so the actual one and the new ones which are actually trying to scale up. And the meaningful measurement, it's all about data and transparency. That's the way we work at Reloop, trying to get the data and build some modelization and try to have like projection on the future of packaging. So it's all about different factors, environment factors, regulation, economy, and operation factors that we try to put all together to have a deep understanding about how it works. Why also we are pretty busy at this time, if I can say that, is that DRS and DRS for recycling and reuse, but DRS for recycling are also growing in the world. As you can see, since the last 50 years, you can see this increasing of DRS in the world, and especially in the last 5 years, based on the sub-directive, so the single-use plastic directive, trying to tackle the plastic pollution and collect more plastic, especially PET bottles. And you can see this major increase since 2019. So we're gonna have like from 350 million people under DRS to the double 750 million people under DRS. And you can see in Europe, it's the trend is pretty massive. You have this in green, this country which already have a DRS. So you have 13 countries which have DRS, and countries we will have DRS in the next 2 years. The one which are half green, half blue, and countries who are trying to actually in the discussion to have maybe or maybe not a DRS in their collection package and EPR package, if I can say that. The why behind is because DRS provide a high return rate of 90% and more. And today we're going to deep dive in this German DRS because it's the most successful DRS in the world in terms of return rates and return rate for DRS for recycling on plastic bottles and cans, but also on reuse system. And reuse is also a big trend that we try, and when I say we, it's DUH, it's us try to scale up in Europe. So at the end, Reloop, we create, we collaborate, and we share some reports, some papers, some fact sheets, trying to share all this knowledge and have the discussion with the packaging world, with legislators, with the industry, with NGOs, and trying to have better policies on this sector. Why it's today it's a presentation from France and Francophonie is because in France our annual review is not so bad, but not enough, if I can say that. So we have like in France like 18 billion plastic bottles and cans in the market. The collection rate for plastic bottles are around 60 actually, and the objective is 90% by 2029. The collection rate of cans is 45%, and half of this percentage is based on incinerators. So 2 cans on 10 are collected by our curbside, and the reuse rate is under 5%. And the objective is 10% by 2027. So the increase is pretty the curve to increase is pretty high, and we absolutely need new tools to go there. The results of this results is unfortunately to have 8 billions of plastic bottles and cans going every year to landfill, to incinerators, and also some of them in littering in the nature. So that's the reason why in France, Reloop is more favorable to a mixed DRS for reuse and recycling. So a DRS where you can reach the objectives of 90% and collect more of all these cans and plastic bottles, but also have this national reuse system with all the deployment of the infrastructure across France, and the opportunity to transfer also from single use to reuse at the consumer level. So that's a massive change of behavior that we want to create in France in order to tackle this environmental issue. And finally, we will launch tomorrow a campaign which called Oui la consigne, in English, Yes DRS. And it's a campaign where you can find different information about DRS and the benefits to have this tool actually in our policies to tackle all these issues. But before that, and before to continue on that, the idea today is more to deep dive in the German model, and I will let Elena Schägg, you're gonna let you to present yourself, and please, thank you one more time for your time and to be there with us. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Alexis, for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here and to have the opportunity to give you some insights into the history of the 2 DRS systems that we have in place in Germany for single-use beverage packaging and for the refillable beverage packaging. So I will share my screen, and of course, after the webinar, you can have those slides. I will share them with Alexis. So yeah, my name is Elena Schägg. I'm leading the packaging team at DUH. So in German, it's Deutsche Umwelthilfe. In English, it's Environmental Action Germany. And I'm part of the circular economy team. We are Germany's leading NGO in the field of circular economy with about 20 persons working in that topic, not only on packaging, but it's really one of our core issues, but also to get better design of products in general, also more circular economy in the building sector, for example, better collection rates when we look at bio waste, for example. So yeah, that's what we do in the circular economy department. And just a few words about Deutsche Umwelthilfe in the beginning. So as Alexis already said, we are an environmental and consumer protection NGO. This is quite special about us. So we are also entitled to take direct legal action if infringements against any laws are taken by companies, for example. We were founded in 1975 at this beautiful lake you can see here in the picture at Lake Constance in southern Germany. This is where still one of our offices is located, but I am based in Berlin, as most of my colleagues, because here we have the political work ongoing, and then we also have some smaller regional offices. We are today around 200 employees, and we work at national level, but also at European level. So I myself, I'm also intensively now working on the new packaging regulation, the PPWR, at European level. So why do we bother so much about beverage packaging in Germany for several decades? So I will also say a few words about the role of us during the whole process of the introduction of the single-use DRS in Germany. It's because, they do matter a lot. So around 10% of the German packaging waste consists of beverage packaging, which is already a very conservative number, as some packaging segments are not included in that number. And of course, when you think about beer or soft drinks, it's quite impossible to prevent those packaging. So this is why we have been intensively working on that topic, also in collaboration with the beverage industry that is using refillable beverage packaging. So first, I want to give you a quick overview of the different systems for beverage packaging, distribution and collection that we have in place here in Germany, because although we're all part of the European Union, that differs a lot. So we have those two DRS systems in place: the deposit system for refillables, the deposit system for single use, I call it. And of course, also we have extended producer responsibility, so the green dot curbside collection. It's important to understand that those two DRS for reuse and for recycling or single use work separate from each other, and also not regulated in the same way. So for the refillables, we have a voluntary deposit. So this was based on agreements that fillers and retail took a while ago, because it's a historically evolved system, so already in place for decades. I will give you on the next slide the details about the deposit. It's, for example, also voluntary to put this logo that you can see here on the left, to put this logo on the beverage packaging for consumers to see that this is a refillable packaging. We strongly support, from an environmental and climate protection view, refillables, as LCAs show us that they are more environmental friendly than single-use beverage packaging. So regarding to an LCA that we have here for the German market, refillables produce 50% less CO2 emissions when we look at the sector of mineral water and soft drinks compared to single-use packaging, so the plastic packaging, over the entire life cycle. And when we look at glass bottles, but we also have PET refillables on the market, glass bottles can be reused up to 50 times. And here, the second DRS that we have here in Germany since 2003 is the deposit for single-use beverage packaging. This is, as Alexis said, very well performing system, as well as we have a really, really high separate collection rate of 98.5%. And we get high quality recycling out of the material collected. I will tell you a bit more about it later. But of course, we are campaigning for waste prevention and less plastic produced, we have to say that still in Germany, we have a problem of too many single-use beverage packaging. Just to give you two numbers on that. So we have 16 billion single-use plastic bottles used every year in Germany. When we look at cans, it's around 3 billion today. So here you can see a few examples of the refillable beverage bottles that we have here in Germany. As I said, it is a voluntary deposit. Depends on the segment and also of the size of the bottle. For example, the beer bottles that you see here on the left side, they have a deposit of 8 euro cents. And the bigger water and juices bottles, they have 15 euro cents per bottle. And we have standardized bottles on the market, which optimizes reuse systems as they can be used by many different fillers. And they minimize transport distances, because when I get one of these bottles in city A and I travel to city B, I can just give it back there at the retail, and then this bottle doesn't have to be transported back to city A, but it can be transported to the filler, which is next to city B. And just to show you, because mostly people don't know that, so we don't just have glass refillable bottles, but we also have PET refillable bottles. And here you can see the LCA again that I was already mentioning, which states that over the entire life cycle, this is looking at mineral water bottles, they produce 50% less CO2. No matter if we look at PET or glass, you even see that PET can have some more advantages because it's lighter, but then it has less rotations. So for PET bottles, it's up to 25 rotations. For glass bottles, it's up to 50 rotations. The single-use DRS was introduced in 2003, and it's regulated in the German packaging law, and it's a fixed deposit amount. So it states in the law that it must be at least 25 euro cents per container, and that this packaging also need to wear this logo that you can see here. So to make it easier for a consumer to see that this is a single-use packaging, and it applies to packaging which sizes of 0.1 up to 3 liters. And it used to be quite complicated, the single-use DRS, because in the beginning, not all beverage segments were included in the DRS. And there were still some reforms of the DRS. So today, we have beer, water, soft drinks, and alcoholic mixed drinks inside the DRS. And since the beginning of this year, also juices and wine. And soon, with the beginning of January 24, also milk will be included in the DRS, but this only refers to plastic bottles and cans. For all the other beverage segments, also single-use glass packaging is included in the German DRS. So beverage cartons are not included, but this is also one claim of us that they should be included because we can see them littered in the environment a lot. So here you can see the logo once again, and the code, which is necessary for the automated take back in retail with the REMs, and also to to do the deposit clearing afterwards. And there are some specifics about the German DRS. As you may know, you can have different DRS systems in different countries, if it's centralized or decentralized. So here in Germany, it's regulated that retailers are obliged to take back single-use containers of the same material they say. So whenever you offer water, mineral water in a plastic bottle, then you have to take back all plastic bottles, no matter which brand, except you are a small shop. So this means that you have less of 200 square meters, then you are only obliged to take back the brand that you actually sell in your shops. So this was made to relieve the burden of small shops. Yeah, our curbside collection here at households. You can see some containers here on the right picture, because this also differs to the situation in France, I learned. So we have the blue one, the paper and cardboard ton. Then we have the yellow one. Sometimes it's also a bag and not really a container. There you can put all the plastic packaging and metal packaging in it, so also the cans. And then we have the organic waste bin and the residual waste bin, the black one. And for glass, we have those containers outside in the streets, so they're not usually placed in the in the backyard of your house. And there you can put white, green, and brown glass separated, and as well on the street you can bring back textiles that are still reusable or recyclable. So now, as I already mentioned,
maybe Elena, just before, so don't hesitate if you have any question, just to let the question in the Q&A, and at the end of Elena's presentation, I will ask the question for you. So don't hesitate to use it. I can see like some question right now. So yeah, thank you, Elena. Can continue.
Okay. So why did Germany introduce the single-use DRS in 2003? That's also quite specific about the German case, because we had sort of a regulation mechanism which was written down in the German packaging ordinance at that time. And this said, when the refillable quota fell around less than 70%, then a single-use DRS has to be implemented. So, and this was the case end of the 90s. And the objective of the introduction of the single-use DRS was to reach a steering effect towards refillables, to stop littering, to boost collection and recycling rates, and to enable closed loop recycling. And as I said, but we will not have time to get into the very specific details about all the negotiations that we had here in Germany about the introduction of the DRS, but it was, I can say, quite a long fight. And DOH was involved in the whole discussions at that time, as you can see here on that wonderful picture. So the man with all the mics here, that is the director of the Deutsche Umwelthilfe today. And we started this action to really have a bunch of cans in the back to demonstrate how big the problem of littering in Germany is. And here on the left, on the very left side, You can see the politician, a green politician, an environmental minister at that time, Jürgen Trittin, he's called. He was, and in the end, the one that introduced the DRS in 2003. So how those two systems influence each other, interlink. First of all, you have to understand how the market was structured at that time. So end of the 90s, beginning of the 2000s. So we had the very big discounters evolving on the market. So Aldi and Lidl, they took over the market leadership, especially in the mineral water sector. So they offered a lot of cheap products in single-use plastic bottles, also in cans, and achieved a market share for mineral water up to 50%. Today it decreased, also because now we have a declining single-use use of those plastic bottles. But 50% market share in the mineral water sector, that's quite a lot. And they offered a water bottle of 1.5 liters for 19 cents. So that's a very cheap price. And they used to do it until, I don't know, a few months ago, I think, or last year. They raised the price up to 25 cents, which is still a very cheap product. So we had the situation that small and regional fillers who traditionally fill their beverages in refillable beverage bottles, they had huge problems to compete with those prices. And until today, those two big discounters still exclusively offer single-use beverage packaging, and they refuse to offer reusable packaging. So that's important to understand, to see that since the 90s, we had an increase of single-use PET bottles here in Germany. So it was before and after the introduction of the single-use DRS. So as you can see here on the graph, that's the market share of refillables in the mineral water segment in percent, starting from 1992 until more or less today. So as you can see here, when the deposit was introduced in 2003, so that's the red indication here in the graph, it was not the DRS to blame that the overall market share of single-use PET bottles increased. On the contrary, we have to say that due to the DRS, the market share of refillables had sort of a steering effect, especially compared to other European countries. So until today, we have a market share of 42.6 for refillables in the water sector, which is of course not that high as back then in the 90s, as you can see here on the slides. But we really can see that this was due to the market strategy, which was fostered by the big discounters. And that's not just us stating this as an environmental NGO, but this is also the public opinion supported by the environmental ministry and also by the Federal Environmental Agency. So you can see here a report that was published by the Federal Environmental Agency, where they evaluated the deposit obligation here in Germany. And now I quote, they say, in our opinion, the reasons for the rapid decline in reuse quotas lie primarily in the market and competitive strategies of major players in the food retail sector. And we also have a quote of the Environmental Ministry. Yeah, our Secretary of the Environmental Ministry, who just supported the statement. I put it in French here. I will not read it out, as my French pronunciation will be quite bad. But yeah, they also see the steering effect that the single-use DRS had on the refillables here in Germany. And now we just looked at the the water segment. Just want to say a few words, why the steering effect was in place in our opinion. So first of all, we had the situation that consumers have to return both the single-use containers and the refillable bottles to the retailers. So it makes them easier to choose the more environmentally friendly option. Before the DRS was introduced, only the refillable bottles had to be returned to the retailer. So now they have more or less the same chances in the eyes of the consumers. And it was even made more simple for them, easier for them, because especially after 2003, we had an increase in reverse vending machines that were installed in retail. So it was much more easier to bring it back. Before, most of the refillable bottles had been taken back manually. And the third reason is that the deposit amount on single-use bottles is higher than on refillable bottles. So a big number of consumers choose bottles with lower deposit. So to sum up, we can say, yes, the DRS on single-use bottles had a protective effect on the German refillable system. And when we look at the beer segment, it's even more visible. So you can see the development of the market share of refillables in the beer segment once again. So directly with the introduction of the DRS on cans, they lost their advantage for consumers. Let's phrase it like this to just drink a beer or soft drink or whatever out of the cans and then throw it away either in a public waste bin or worst case in the environment. And as you can't really transport cans because you cannot close them or whatever, it really led to a significant decrease of cans. And most of the filler then decided in Germany to switch to refillable glass bottles. So the market share increased from 68% in 2002 to 89% by end of 2003. So that's very significant. And until today, we have a refillable market share in the beer segment over 80%, which is the best performing system. And just to give you another argument, if we look at beverage segments that have or had no DRS, like juices and milk, we can see that here the refillables are really struggling. So yeah, juices were not included in the DRS right from the beginning. They are until until start of 2022. And the market share of refillables for juices used to be very low. So the lowest was 8%, was mostly around 8 to 10%. And now, since the DRS is introduced, we can already see an increase in reuse share in the juice segment. So now it's back around 12%, showing an upward trend. When we look at milk, it's really frustrating because there the refillable quota is around 1%. Let's see what happens when milk is included in the DRS next year. So this shows that, especially when we compare the high refillable rates that we have in the beer and the water segment to the juices and milk segment, that the DRS achieved the desired steering effect for refillables. Just to give you also some numbers on the littering problems and also on consumer behavior that we were facing here in Germany. So it's not that the German ever have been very decent and clean people. So no, also we were struggling with a lot of littering in public places, in parks, at lakes and so on. So statistics show that annually 3 billion cans and plastic bottles were littered in Germany before the introduction of the DRS. Now I will give you, I try to be quite quick on that, I think, some insights about how we, how the comparison is between the curbside collection that we have in place here in Germany and the single-use deposit. As we can see here as well, quite good advantages of the single-use DRS system compared to the curbside collection. First of all, the collection rate. I have mentioned it already. It's super high. It's 98.5% here in Germany. So this, of course, allows a very clean material collection. So there's no material damage. There are no impurities. We have a very high quality. When we look at the green dot system, so the curbside collection, the collection rate of plastic sales packaging is around 60%. And this is no monofraction material. So you have a lot of impurities, adhesions, heavy rest, you lost material in the sorting process. When we look at the recycling rate, then of course, this very clean collection scenario that we have with the single-use DRS also allows a very effective recycling rate, which amounts to 97 to 98%, both for single-use plastic bottles, also for cans, and also, for glass, we will see on the next slide. And we have, and this is, I'm sure most of you also know, some problems with recycling when it comes to the curbside collection. As again, you have impurities, adhesions, and so on. So the recycling rate of the collected plastic material here in Germany amounts only to 45% today. Also, when we look at single-use glass, as I mentioned, this is also included in the DRS system here in Germany. We have the same high collection rate, of course, as for the other materials. And also the recycling rate is higher. Here we have a little bit a problem of very good statistics, but it is at least 87%, but you even have to add then some of the 1.5% of the single-use glass, which is not brought back to the retail, but then is disposed in the curbside collection. And when we look at the collection points that we have for glass packaging that is not under the single-use DRS, we have only a collection rate of 84%. So if you do some math on that, then we have a delta of missing material of single-use glass of 500,000 tons, which is really quite a lot. As you all know, that having a good glass recycling stream is very beneficial for the environment, as it saves resources, and CO2, as the recycling process of glass is quite energy intensive. So to come to the end, I just wanted to give you some arguments that we hear, from many different sides and countries against deposit, and why we can say that they are not true looking at the German experience. So first of all, deposit systems are expensive for consumers and retailers. We can say, no, that's not true, because of course a deposit is a refund. Consumers get the deposit back. And now it's also very, very common and well-known concept here in Germany. So if you say the German word for deposit, every consumer understands what that means, and that these are no extra costs for him or her. So, and in the German case, it's regulated like this, that retailers keep the materials consumers bring back to them. So they can sell the single-use plastic bottles, the cans, the single-use glass. They can sell them on the global market afterwards. So they get good money for it because it's very high valuable material. And they can use it when they have their own filling lines, which is the case for Lidl, for example. They use also the bottles for their own bottle production, so for bottle-to-bottle recycling. And we also have the situation that system costs are refinanced with unredeemed deposit. So it is the 1.5% that is not brought back to the supermarkets. And this can be regulated differently. I think Alexis can also give you more insights on that if there are questions. So in other countries, retailers receive a certain handling fee for the DRS system. That's not the case in Germany, because in Germany, the retailers can keep the materials, so this is what they gain. Deposit systems are inconvenient for consumers. No, that's not the case, because how could you explain the extremely high return rate that we have here in Germany? If it would be inconvenient, then consumers would not bring back their packaging. But that's not the case, because the 25 cents is an amount that has to be sufficient to give them a sufficient incentive for consumers to bring it back. And there were also studies, surveys showing that 80 to 90% of the German population are in favor of deposit systems with the deposit of deposit systems, as they also see the positive effects with reduced littering in the environment, for example. And a third argument is deposit systems turns retail stores into waste bins. This is not true for the German case. There are, on the contrary, some advantages that retailers can get from single-use DRS systems. Most of them put their RVMs in the back of the shop, so customers have to go through the shop, get some more shopping items that they buy. So it also helps to have a better customer relationship for retail here. So it's more like a service retailers are doing to the customers here in Germany. That's how they understand it. And also, like at most RVMs here in Germany, we also have, for example, a sink where consumers can wash their hands, so just to support a clean return of the packaging. And as I said, retailers earn very good money with the material from the bottles. So they even have an interest to get a lot of the packaging back. And we have here a statement of an association where a lot of different members from the single-use packaging industry are part of, and also, for example, the biggest single-use bottlers and discounters. And they have even published a statement saying, we will support the deposit system because customers and the producers appreciate it. The deposit system generates high recycling rates for PET and metals. Littering is almost eliminated. So to sum up, I can say the German single-use DRS is well established after now over 20 years of the start of the DRS. It is broadly accepted also in the years before, and we can see that we have only winners. So when we look at the political side, so the politicians, we have an achievement of high collection and recycling rates. Also, recycled content for single-use PET bottles is very high in Germany. It's around 45%. So that's a very good result. And as I have elaborated, we could also see a steering effect on refillables protecting the environment and the climate. The retailers, they get high material revenues. They get the customers back into their stores. They experience the customer service that they're doing. The packaging producers get very good material to use it for their bottle-to-bottle recycling or the recycling for cans, which is also a good point. And the citizens can be happy about a clean environment here in Germany and to avoid 3 billion cans and plastic bottles to be littered in the environment. So I hope that illustrated the German case for you, and now I'm happy to answer some questions.
Thank you so much, Elena. Thank you so much. I have to say vielen Dank. Vielen Dank.
Gerne.
Very relevant presentation, like really a lot of enlightenments. I would like to share some question we have in the Q&A to you. Before that, I'm just gonna maybe share my screen because some of the questions are based on that. So
I can,
yeah, okay. So let me, not gonna be long. Maybe I just can't find it. Okay, all right, I get it. So based on this, we got some question around this. But first of all, I got a very interesting question from Liz. It's saying like in this specific context of Germany, a DRS culture has existed for a long time. Your presentation demonstrates that the implementation of DRS for single-use packaging has diminished the effectiveness of DRS for reuse. Regarding a country such as France, but it could be like also Italy or Spain, where the culture, the DRS culture differs, do you believe that introducing a mixed DRS system could foster the growth of DRS for reuse, or will it primarily limit its advancement?
Just to get the question right, so it means that we have different starting situations in other countries where refillable systems are not yet so established, and that I would still say even if we have a country like France or Italy, yes, we definitely would support a mixed DRS. We would even say that without having a DRS for single-use packaging, reuse systems will not get the chance to scale up on the market, because as I said, for consumers, it creates a level playing field for consumers as refillables have necessarily the characteristic that you have to bring them back to the supermarket because the fillers want to get the packaging back to reuse it. So if then single-use plastic bottles and cans don't have a deposit, then of course for customers, it's an easy choice to say, yeah, okay, I just have to throw them away into my waste bin at home. So I rather go for the single-use packaging. And what we also see, and that I haven't yet mentioned in my presentation, is that the automatic take back at retail is really, really important. On the one hand, to have a more consumer convenience, to make it easy for them to bring their packaging back. But at the same time, the DRS also in Germany fostered that we have automated returns in the supermarket, so RVMs. And we can see that by introducing single-use DRS, you can also refinance infrastructure that is necessary for refillables. So if you make it obligatory for retail to take back single use, they invest into the RVMs that should also be usable for the reuse system.
Okay, so you're saying, yeah, it's about the competitivity of reuse, the consumer experience, the consumer actually the new gesture to return, and be sure that the retailers have the obligation to refund on reuse and for sure on single use. So that's how we can like just shift from to get the higher return rates on both and have the competitivity between single-use packaging and reuse packaging at on large volume for massive change. That's my understanding of what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Another question from Amelie. How was the value of the deposit system determined? Are refillers planning to increase the value of the deposit for reusable containers? The 8 cents versus the 25 cents. And I know very well Amelie on that. And I give you the example in Canada for a long time, the value of reuse containers were a bit higher. And the idea was just to, push the citizen to return back. So it's not about buying, it's about return. But in Germany, you did a different choice. And that's really interesting because you told us that with this choice, the consumer prefer to buy a reusable bottle with 8 cents versus 25 cents.
Yes, I think that was definitely the reason when the legislators thought about the amount of the single-use deposit. And in addition to that, of course, it's always important to set it high enough that consumers get an incentive to bring them back. But with the refillables, it's another story. As I said, because those the discussion how high the deposit on refillables should be was back then a long time ago, and the intention was that the deposit reflects the actual market price of the packaging, and this was then back then in the 60s, 70s, 8 cents and 15 cents. And yes, we know this is probably not the case anymore today, as all the prices were rising. But it is quite difficult to increase the value of refillables, as it would take a really, really long time, because you cannot say from day 1 to day 2, now we raise the deposit from 8 cents to 20 cents, because then, consumers would, I don't know, leave the refillable packaging at home and then bring it back another day to get more money for it. So it would be quite risky for the refillers to do it. And there is no reason to do it, because the return rate for refillables in Germany is at 99% today. So they get their packaging back. Why should they change a system that works really perfectly?
Mm-hmm. And actually, that's the economic is a key thing in the refillable sector, as you need absolutely the rotation as a business case. Yeah. Okay. So thank you so much, Lena. We have like time for two last question. We have a question about milk and the evolution of DRS. Can you just explain a bit more about the introduction of milk in Germany? So next year, January 2024, and it will be only for milk, also for leek yogurt. And also another question on that about GRS. We are on the beverage sector right now. We're talking about beverages, but what about other packaging which could be included in GRS and in refillable packaging and new packaging include in that? How this can involve?
I think you have to explain the second question once again.
Okay.
Because
the second question is if tomorrow you got like refillable yogurt jar extra, is it something in Germany where you are actually exploring this opportunity to expand DRS from the beverage sectors to packaging sectors or not?
That's a very interesting question, because yes, we have refillable yogurt jars in Germany. They have a deposit of 15 cents. But no, there is, at least from my knowledge, no discussion in like the environmental ministry in Germany to also include other packaging besides of beverage packaging into the single-use DRS. But I think it would be worth a discussion, especially as we see new reuse startups growing here in Germany that also invent reuse systems for example, other liquids like jams or whatever you can fill into a jar. So it's also to get this competitiveness between those two systems. We could think about extending the DRS, but this is, I think, a discussion that that we will have in future time. From beginning of next year, I can also like maybe type it in the chat. So it's all dairy products like drinks, milk drinks, but also like if you have a cappuccino or whatever where milk is inside, that are included in the DRS, but it has to be filled, and that's the big but, it has to be filled in a single-use bottle. So they just look at bottles and cans, but you have very little milk filled in cans. So if you have a cup, for example, then this is not included in the DRS, which is a pity, because when for the other beverage segments, except of juices and milk, all beverage packaging is included. So those cups would be, because they are sealed, like you can, they are included, but not for milk and for juices.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I got a last question for you, if I may. A question which is actually a debate in France about having a DRS will mean transferring like the PET value from the curbside to the DRS, and the impact for MERV centers and for cities also in this curbside sector. How you have managed in 2003 this transfer from the curbside to the DRS? So we totally understand the high return rates, extra the benefits, but how you have managed this in Germany?
Yeah, I think it was a long discussion with the relevant actors, and it was not always easy, but in the end we can see that the green dot system still works properly. At that time we had like one system operator of the EPR system in Germany in place. Now we have 9. So we even have got more companies that were interested in that business models, although single-use plastic bottles and cans were not collected anymore on the DRS. On the curbside collection, but you still have a lot of valuable materials in the green dot system, as not all plastic bottles, of course, were included in the GRS when you look at detergents or whatever. So they survived probably the green dot system. They had not really an economic problem to solve. And as I said, still today we have a lot of support of the DRS, also from many different sides.
Okay, thank you so much. So it's 3. We have like 3 minutes, a bit late. So thank you so much, Elena Schägg from Deutsche Umwelthilfe. Really relevant presentation today about the German context, the German system, and I think a source for us to explore how we can tackle and increase the collection rate in France, but also in different countries in the world, and also for sure develop and push on the reuse packaging sector. And then we can where are the booster for the reuse sector? So you present to us today this booster, having this mixed GRS, which is really interesting for us. And thank you so much for everybody for being here today. So just to let you know that this webinar is recorded, so we could send to you if you need it. It will be on our website, reloop.platform.org, in the next week, I guess. And don't hesitate, if you have any question, please send me an email you can find my email on Reloop website. And thank you so much. Have a good afternoon. Merci beaucoup. Merci à tous. Bonne journée.
Bonne journée.